Outside the window, the snow was falling heavily and it was a world of ice and snow. A man drove to the snow-capped mountain alone to build a secret base, and decided to camp and live here to spend the winter. On this day, when he parked the car steadily, the sun had already set. The man placed brake pads in front of and behind the tires. After returning to the cab, he first pulled the curtains around to ensure his privacy. Then he put down the stairs and came into the spacious and luxurious interior of the RV, besides the sofa where he could rest at any time. The bedroom space on the second floor was also quite spacious and he could lie down and sleep directly. The space below could store all kinds of daily necessities, making full use of the space. Although this small car seemed ordinary, the man had tidied up the interior in good order. The living supplies were neatly organized, and there were all kinds of food and drinks in the refrigerator. After a whole day's tiring journey, the man was already a bit tired. He immediately made a cup of coffee to refresh himself. Sitting in the comfortable RV, he could enjoy the falling snow outside the window at any time. However, in the cold winter, there was no one around and only the man's RV was left. The man, who had been hungry for a day, took out a pile of food from the refrigerator and planned to have a good meal before hitting the road. He took a pan for fried dumplings, peeled the white radish by hand, and cut open all kinds of seafood fish paste. While softening the radish in the microwave, he tidied up the kitchen in the RV. The small space had to be ventilated as soon as possible to avoid forming a strange smell. By now, a big pot of Odin had been completed. It was tender and juicy and quite sumptuous. He just needed to heat it slowly on the stove in the kitchen and wait, and then he could have a big meal for tonight. While waiting, the man took a game console, hung a white curtain in the car, which could just be used as the display screen of the game console, and played games for a while to relax. Driving alone to the wilderness to build an RV camp without any troubles was probably every man's dream. By now, the aroma of the Odin had wafted over. He immediately started the sumptuous dinner, paired with sauce, soft beef tendon and delicious soup. It was unimaginable how pleasant and enjoyable this moment was. At this time, it was still snowing heavily outside the window, and the snowfield was extremely cold, but it was quite warm inside the car. After eating and drinking to his heart's content, the leftovers could be put into the refrigerator for storage. He, who loved cleanliness, washed the kitchen with warm water, checked the indoor and outdoor temperatures, then put on warm clothes and snow boots, and went outside to check the surrounding environment. There was already thick snow piled up on the top. The man decided to clear it the next day. The snow on the ground was already as deep as one's foot. For safety reasons, he went back to the RV early, turned on the heating, took a hot bath, dried his hair with a hair dryer, and hid in the warm quilt and went to sleep early. Early the next morning, the snowstorm was still falling heavily. The snow on the roof of the car was already 60 centimeters thick and formed an incredible snow-capped roof. He got up early, opened the curtains and saw the beautiful snow scenery outside. This scenery was really quite amazing. He opened the window to let in some fresh air, and then made a cup of hot coffee, and sat by the window to enjoy it quietly. Fortunately, the facilities in the RV were complete, and the man could use plenty of hot water. He took out the soup base of last night's Odin in the morning, added a bowl of rice and continued to boil it slowly. While waiting for the hot breakfast, the man put on long boots that were waterproof and snowproof, opened the door and went outside. After a whole night of snowfall, the snow had become very thick and there was no trace of human walking around. He checked the condition of the RV. Fortunately, the water pipes hadn't frozen yet. Then the man went back to the car. Just at this time, the Odin with rice was completed. He ate it alone in the morning and enjoyed it slowly. It was freezing cold outside with heavy snow falling, but it was as warm as a hot spring inside the car. It was really quite pleasant and enjoyable to be alone in the wild snowfield. After eating and drinking to his heart's content, he, who loved cleanliness, quickly completed the packing up. This small RV was warm and comfortable under the man's arrangement. In order to continue the journey, he took out a snow remover, cleared the 60 centimeter thick snow on the roof of the car, and also dealt with the front windshield, so that he could see the road ahead clearly in the cab. After checking the whole car, the man took off the brake pads, drove the small car and left this snow-covered forest, continuing his camping journey. Outside the window, snow was falling heavily, and it was a world of ice and snow. However, the man was spending the winter leisurely and cozily in the warm motorhome, warming himself by the heater and watching TV. On this day, Cuppy drove his tall motorhome deep into a snow-capped mountain area, and decided to set up a campsite on this deserted snowfield. To park the vehicle steadily, he placed anti-slip brake pads in front of and behind the tires to prevent the wheels from slipping when the snow melted. At the same time, he added wheel anti-sliders to ensure that the motorhome was firmly parked in the snow. Then Cuppy went to the driver's cab, and drew the curtain on the front windshield to protect his privacy. Subsequently, he opened the door of the motorhome, and entered the spacious and comfortable interior. It was luxuriously decorated, and had a very large space, with a kitchen, a dining room, and a bedroom all available. It was simply Cuppy's mobile luxury castle. After a day of traveling, the first thing Cuppy did when he got back to the motorhome was to make a cup of hot coffee, sit on the soft sofa, and enjoy a moment of relaxation. He simply heated some apricots on the stove in the kitchen, and enjoyed this cup of coffee and a few fruits. Although these foods seemed simple, having them in the warm motorhome had a unique flavor. Then he took out the projection screen, ready to enjoy some gaming time inside the vehicle. Playing alone quietly, he was completely undisturbed. When he got tired, he switched to a football match, paired with a small drink. Such a night was truly enjoyable. However, The snow outside the window was getting heavier and heavier, hitting the surface of the motorhome and quickly piling up into a thick layer of snow. Although it was freezing cold outside, it was still as warm as spring inside the motorhome. Cuppy decided to start preparing dinner for tonight. He cut the streaky pork into small pieces, paired it with carrots and seasonings, added clean spring water, and just by lighting the stove, he could quickly cook up a pot of delicious beef and vegetable soup. Late at night, Cuppy enjoyed the steaming hot soup alone. The carrots had absorbed the rich soup, making the flavor even more abundant. After eating and drinking, he quickly washed the pots, pans, and dishes, and opened the window to ventilate the motorhome. After cleaning up, he put on a full set of gear, wrapped himself up tightly, and went out into the snowfield. The snow here was very deep. For safety reasons, he cleared the snow around the motorhome to ensure there was enough space for movement. After cleaning up the camp, he returned to the motorhome. It was as warm as spring inside, and the temperature had risen to over 20 degrees. Wearing a short-sleeved shirt was enough to deal with it. Then he went to the bathroom in the vehicle, and took a quick shower to wash away the fatigue of the day. After taking a bath, he dried his hair, got into the warm quilt, turned off the lights, and went to sleep early. The next early morning, the heavy snow was still falling outside. There was already a thick layer of snow, piled up on the roof. He pushed open the window and saw a layer of frost all around. Sitting on the sofa and admiring the beautiful scenery of the snow-capped mountains through the window, paired with a cup of hot coffee, such a morning was truly a treat. Not long after, he used the stove in the kitchen to cook a bowl of hot instant noodles, with fresh shrimps and sauce for breakfast. While waiting for the noodles, he put on his snow boots, picked up an iron shovel, and started to clear the snow on the roof. In just one day, the snow had piled up 30 to 40 centimeters, completely covering the solar panels on the roof and the car windows. After finishing the snow clearing work, the seafood instant noodles were just ready. With some seaweed added, the flavor was extremely delicious. After eating and drinking, Cuppy was ready to go deeper into the snow-capped mountains and embark on a new camping journey. He removed the brake pads, cleaned the surface of the vehicle to ensure that he could clearly see the outside situation. After getting everything in order, he started the car, drove away from the snowfield, and continued moving forward.